Welcome to Modus Cafe. Join us for fun, lighthearted, and educational conversations around training, athletic longevity, and the human side of climbing. With your hosts, Mercedes Pollmeyer and Katja Dev. We are back with another Modus Cafe podcast, and it's Katja and I today. And we're going to be talking about two of our favorite drills. So I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite drills. Katja is going to be talking about her favorite drills. And really, these are drills that we chose that will give you the biggest bang for your buck. You're going to see a lot of change in your climbing if you do these drills. Yeah, so we can get started. But first, Katja, how are you doing?
I'm good. If you watch this in video, you can see I just put on a puffy jacket because it's really cold where I'm at. You know, the funny thing about springtime in Salt Lake City is that spring is really the average of winter and summer. So we have really hot days and then we have really cold days. And sometimes even within one day, you know, it could be shorts weather and then it could be snow on the ground by the evening. So you never know, which makes for a very interesting climbing season. But
Ugh,
no, it's
yeah.
good. Yeah, the sun just came back, so I think later today will be a warmer day, and I might be able to climb outside tomorrow, which is I'm very
Oh,
excited about.
sick. Yes. Are you going to
How are
climb
you?
in LLC?
Yeah, probably. Look, actually, I'm gonna do something funny tomorrow. I'm very excited about. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna climb an LLC in the morning. So LLC is Little Cottonwood Canyon. It's a bouldering area. And then I'm probably gonna drive over to Echo, which is a sport crag, and I'm gonna do sport in the afternoon.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, but having said that, the bouldering I'm planning on doing in the morning is mostly going to be easier stuff. It's more like warming up so that by the
Mhm.
time I get to my sport crag, I'll just be doing probably just two pitches. It's my first time this year in sport anyway, so I'll just be going there, without trying to chase super fatigue, as we just talked about in another podcast episode. But yeah, my goal is just to get outside and just have fun and not overdo it and use the bouldering as a warm up. And the reason I actually do this is because I have a chance to climb with a friend who I haven't seen in a long time. So I want to use that time to climb with her, boulder a little bit. If I do end up getting sucked into a big project, then I will not go sport climbing. But
Mhm.
yes, I do love sport climbing and bouldering in the same season so much.
Well, I think it's so clever to do like if you can like two sessions in a day, especially if they're really short and intentional and you're getting time on the rock, which is so
Yes.
important, especially because your goal is to be able to send climbs outside. And so the
Hmm.
the more time you can spend outside, the better. That's
That,
fantastic.
yeah, that for sure. And then also time spent with friends. I think I'm sort of
Yeah.
reevaluating my goals in climbing and just my relationship with climbing. And one of the things I love is spending time outside and doing that with friends.
Mm.
So tomorrow's just one of these days where I have the opportunity to climb with two separate friends. And because I'm a mom, as you know, as most of you know, just logistically, I'm also just available tomorrow. Like most of the time when my friends go sport climbing, and as you know, you need a partner when you go sport climbing anyway, whether or not you have friends or not. Um, yeah, I'm just able to do both tomorrow. So I'm just gonna really manage my intensity. As you know, my capacity is pretty good. So I know I can do it.
Mm.
Um, just trying to not get too fatigued. And I did just rest for 3 days, which is
Nice.
pretty good for me. Yeah. Well, that's me. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Yeah. How am I? It's funny, I am trying to get back into sprinting. Like I used to do a lot of sprinting as a tennis player and it just always felt so good. And when I think about what I want to do, like what I want to still be capable of doing when I'm in my 60s and onward, I'm like, I'd really still just love to be able to sprint, like run fast. And so I haven't focused on sprinting in a very long time, like a couple of years. I've done like anaerobic workouts where I'll do it on the bike or a rower where I'm going at a full out intensity for like 10 seconds or something like that. But running, like sprinting, feels just so different on the body. Um, and I I also think like, hey, sometimes you do need to sprint. you know, like in real life, like, oh, like
Running away
I
from a tiger,
running away
just in
from a
case.
mountain lion. Yes. Running away from a snake because that's like my biggest fear. Um, no, but like I use the bus system, and sometimes you're like, uh-oh, the bus is literally coming in 2 minutes. I need to sprint down my street in order to make the bus. And I'd like to be able to do that without having like, you know, an asthma attack on the bus by the time I get there. So anyway, yeah, some practical reasons, but also I just love the feeling of running fast. So I started incorporating some sprints. I say that in quotation marks because I'm still not going flat out yet. Like you have to build up to this stuff, and
Mhm.
it's been a while for me. So I'm going at like a moderate to high intensity for longer periods of time, and I'm sore today. I did a
Mhm.
session yesterday, and yeah, I feel actually pretty sore today, which is awesome. Like the more I
Yeah.
do it, the less sore I'll be. So I'm excited to continue doing it.
Okay, cool. That's
Yeah.
fun. I'll
Yeah.
I'll keep asking you about it.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm so glad we're recording a podcast, so I
I
can
know.
learn more about you, what you're
Yeah.
up to. Okay,
Um,
let's dive into the two drills we want to share that we think
yeah.
can be very rewarding for people.
Mhm.
And yeah, we chose two just to keep it simple because it's so easy to get carried away. But you
Yeah.
don't always need to work on everything at the same time. So just choose one of these two drills. You can do both, but just these two drills for a couple of weeks and then see what what it does to you.
Mhm. Yeah. Katja, do you want to go first and talk about your favorite biggest bang
Yeah.
for your buck drill?
Well, I don't want to sell like this. You're selling it like this. But this is a drill that I mean, I don't know if it exists out there. I feel like I made it up for myself. But, with the internet being so vast, I don't dive into the internet too much. Who knows? Maybe someone else has talked about this drill before. I made it up for myself actually just a couple of years ago. So at that point, I want to emphasize this. At that point, I was already climbing. I think I'd already done my first V8 actually. And the reason I say this is because we often get this question about like being at a certain level and whether or not we should be doing these simple drills. And both Mercedes and I really deeply believe that at any level, doing any drill will be very helpful. Now, some drills perhaps more helpful than others, but doing these drills is really, really beneficial to any level climbing. So that's why I share this with you. So I think I might have already done my first V8, but I've learned so much from this drill that now I just want to share with everybody because I also see limitations or I see what limits people in their climbing. And this is actually exactly what my drill addresses. And it's called, drum roll, climb to your reach. I call it climb to your reach. So why did I make up this drill? I'm one of these people. I'm actually not super short, but I have short arms. I'm a T-Rex. So naturally, far moves are hard for me. And I found myself often saying, I can't reach it. I can't reach it. I can't reach it. Only for at least half the time to realize I was wrong. I was able to reach it. I just thought I couldn't reach it. So that's a big difference, right? We sometimes think we can't reach something without actually knowing and having data and evidence for it. So I realized that the perception that I have of myself, my brain, is different than what I'm actually capable of. So I used to get on the wall and I used to think I can't reach it, but I realized that is wrong. But my brain thinks I can't reach it. So what is that? So I was like, I can probably retrain my brain to really learn the actual distance that I can reach. So I made up this drill that I used to practice for my warm-up every time, and I still do it, is how far can I reach? And variations of that, I mean, the simplest sort of rule about it is you're always just trying to reach as far as you can. And you can you can break this drill into multiple different components, which is at the beginning, what I would do is I would really just be on jugs and I would start eliminating holds. And just to see if I could go from one jug to the next, even if it's really far. I mean, at the same time, depending on how you do this drill, you're also practicing dead pointing or dynamic movement. Because if you're trying to reach really far, often what we end up doing is we use dynamic movement and momentum to go pretty far. That's at least how I would start. There's other ways of doing this drill in a static way, but even just eliminating holds. And I did that to a point where I actually climbed what we call rainbow climbing. So I was climbing in the gym, but I wasn't climbing on routes per se that were indicated by the route setters. I would just make up my own problems because the question that I had for myself is, starting at this one hold, can I reach? And then I would just choose X hold. I just wanted to see if I can reach it. And if it was really far, what I would do before trying to climb to that hold, what I would do is I would use any random hold that I could find and just get myself into the physical position just to see if I could physically span the move. Does that make sense? So what I would do is I would really just like find any way of getting up to my goal hold, the one I'm trying to get to, just to see, can I physically span this move? And I surprised myself so many times that I could span so many moves. So this is, just being able to do like physically span it. And then I would go back and actually try to climb it to actually reach that next hold from the start hold. And this is all done on drugs. This is really just to train my brain if I can even reach that far. And I still, every time I go to the gym now, and I have this sort of doubt. It's a very short process now. I have this doubt, oh, can I reach it? I'm like, nope, I can. And I just go for it and I can reach it. It's really transformed my climbing so much. And then you can do variations on this. You can do variations where you try to reach something more statically. You can try to reach something in a more lock-off position. But I think that is sort of nuanced, and you can make this really into a game. But even just like playing this game of how far can I actually really reach, testing it and finding data that you're actually able to reach it. Because it's one thing to maybe not being able to generate the momentum to get there. But when we tell ourselves we can't reach something, that often implies our arms are too short, we're physically incapable of getting there, when that's often not the case. And I want to just share a funny story because I know you have a client story too. So I was working with this athlete and we were doing movement analysis, and we were just practicing different drills at the gym. And this athlete is very, very tall. He's above 6 feet, maybe 6 feet, 6'2". I don't know. He's he's a basketball player on the wall, essentially. And I'm 5'5" with a -2.5 ape index. So my ape index is roughly actually 5'3". It doesn't matter, but it's probably almost 10 inches shorter than the client who I was working with. And one of the things that I noticed, so this is the thing, this is why I love talking about this drill. I noticed this with tall and short people, that people do not climb to their actual height, to their actual physical limitations of their body. And so this particular athlete, he's actually quite tall. So I think his problem was that most problems that are set in the gym made him feel, made him climb very scrunched. But he had this perception in his mind that he had to use all these holds when he started climbing. Because, we see all these holds in the gym, we think we have to use all of them. So he had actually learned to climb small, even though he's so tall. So then I did this exercise with him where I tried to encourage him to just reach, to literally just reach above, and to not think in his brain he needs to use all these holes in between. And at the very end, what I wanted to share is that at the very end of this, we'd worked on this for a good 30 minutes. And at the very end, I challenged him to go from one hold to the next hold without letting go of the bottom hold. Right? So the drill was keep your left hand on the bottom hold, try to reach up to the next hold with your right hand. And he told me it's too far. He doesn't think he can reach it. So this is after we had just worked on this drill. And I was like, how about this? I'm going to show you that I can do it. And then you do it. And that was amazing because I did it. I spanned that reach. I spanned that far move with my 5'3" ape index when he has like 10 inches on me. And he literally, his jaw dropped. He could not believe that I did that because he really thought he wouldn't be able to. And then he did it. And so I just want to emphasize this. I think it's often when we think shorter people often say, I can't reach something, but it really happens to tall people too. But I would just encourage everybody to question that. If you tell yourself you can't reach something, just question it and just literally collect the data and try it out. And then retrain your brain to what you're actually able to do. And it's really, for me, has transformed my climbing. That's why I love this drill, and it's so, so simple. And I did make a video that we're gonna link the video below. So if you want to check out the video so you can see how I actually do it. And I believe I'm showing different variations of it too, because it's a little bit tricky to explain, but it's so simple. And let me tell you, I would love for you to try it. Let's try it for a month. You can do it during your warm up. It doesn't have to be long. And let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I see this for sure in every single person, that they're definitely
Hmm.
not climbing to their reach. And it is funny how so many tall people have the same problems. They're
Hmm.
like, oh, I can't reach that. Yeah. And I think it just gives you more confidence too as you get better and you get on harder things. Like sometimes harder climbs will really ask you to extend your reach. You require more body tension. And so I think you learn so much more about your movement when you are just practicing climbing to your reach as well. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I do
Cool.
love that drill.
Mercedes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the one that I'm about to talk about kind of like does tie into this. And so my favorite drill, and we have this in our Stronger Together membership, so we have this membership where people will go through training programs, and this drill is in almost every single training program that I write, because I think it really does teach you so much at every stage in your climbing experience or like your training level. Um, and yeah, just to reiterate, like these movement drills, no matter how simple, it's not just for beginners, it is for every single level climber. So we always talk about coming back to the basics. And so this one is, I would say, kind of forms the foundation of almost all climbing movement, and it's the slow motion climbing. Um, and everyone that I prescribe this to, um, they all notice something profound about their climbing, because it kind of puts a magnifying glass on your movement. Um, and so the way to execute it, let me just talk about how to do this drill first, because I think this is also a mistake that people make, is that they actually do this climb too quickly. Like it's supposed to be slow motion. And let's say you do this on, like you have to do it on something very easy with a lot of holds that are close together at first, no matter what level you're at. And you do this on a boulder that maybe when you do it in real time, it only takes you maybe 12 seconds to do. But when you do it with this intention of doing the slow motion climbing, it's going to take you over a minute to do that. That's how slow you want to go. And so like if you're going to do this for the first time, try it on vertical terrain. If you do it on overhanging, you're going to get tired pretty quickly. So do it on something vertical, or you could even try on slab if you like. But really you're trying to move as slowly as possible throughout the whole range of motion. So if you're feeling like you have to move dynamically from one position to the next, that is actually an indication of some weakness that you have in your body. So really be as slow as possible. Now I know that you might be in a busy climbing gym, and you might feel a little self-conscious about doing a drill like this. But I really, you know, if that's the case and it's really busy, it's okay. People will wait. Um, but maybe do it in an area that there's not a ton of people, so you don't feel self-conscious about it, because you want to really just take your time in this drill. Um, yeah, so go as slow as you can. And so the benefits of this, like a lot of my clients will say, wow, I feel so much more control in my climbing. Um, And it's true. So when you go really slow in your movement, you're building strength at every single angle of your body. Like, let's just say with the shoulders, you're learning to lock off, you're learning to reach. This is where we could put Katja's drill in. You could even like advance the slow motion drill by trying to go a little further with your reach and skipping a hold. You learn really good body tension, like being able to lock down your core, and being able to breathe. you're also learning to push with your legs at the same time as you're pulling. Um, yeah, I love it so much. And because you can build strength in all of those ranges, now you're increasing control. And this just seamlessly develops your climbing movement when it gets to the harder stuff. So you can easily work on strength in your climbing on these really easy V0s and see the fruits of your labor on these harder climbs. Okay, so I think that's a really big reason to do this drill, is that it improves your control, which means you're improving your strength in your body. Recently, I talked with a one-on-one client who was doing this drill, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like my footwork is improving just by doing this drill because I am forced to slow down. I am now able to focus on how I'm placing my toes and how I'm using my toes." We have some of our footwork drills. They're called bug squishers. That's a big one where you're trying to place your toes so you have room to move your foot as you're twisting into the next move. And so she was able to basically include this bug squisher footwork into the slow motion drill without like even like consciously. It just kind of like naturally happened. So you could work on bug squishers. There's another drill that I really like, which is we call it the penny flicker. So as you're moving really slow, you have to pull with your feet. And what happens when you pull with your feet is that you will feel engagement in the back of your leg. So that's like your hamstrings, your calves, your glutes. All of those things are getting stronger, and you're learning to pull your body and your hips in as you're moving. Um, and then another drill that seamlessly just seems to happen in this drill is the twist and lock. So that's where you have to rotate your body. Like if you're very front on in the slow motion drill and you're not rotating with the move, you're going to get so tired just because you're pulling so much with your arms. But when you have to slow down and figure out, okay, if I'm going to be able to do this and last the minute on this wall, you might naturally start to turn. Um, and so this is the twist and lock drill. And all of a sudden now you're figuring out the most efficient way to move on the wall because you are forced to slow down. So I love it. It's kind of just a catch-all. Um, and I think the biggest thing, like after you've done this drill for a while, you start to see where your weak points are. If it is kind of like crossing your legs through, you're like, oh, I feel really uncoordinated, or I feel like I have to move quickly. Okay, now this is something you can pull from that drill and work on in isolation, in a different part of your workout. So yeah, it's a really great way to form a foundation of strength, body control, tension. It's almost like doing a plank on the wall for a minute. It's almost the equivalent to like an on the ground strength move. So some practical ways to make sure that you're doing this drill correctly. Again, like do this on vertical terrain. Make sure you do something that's easy. VB. I don't know how like everyone's grading system is different in your climbing gyms, but just choose something with a lot of jugs. But you want to avoid dynamic moves. So if you see a pretty big gap in the climb, maybe don't do the drill on that one yet. After you get really good at this drill, then you can start doing it on bigger moves, try to climb to your reach. And then you could see if you could do something that looks like a dynamic move, but now you're trying to do it static. And the way that you can put this into your session is to actually do it in your warm-up. I do it for all of my warm-ups every single day. It is something that I do on my warm-up. Or it can be a core focus of your session, especially if you're working on strength. You could go to the gym and say, I'm going to try 6 slow motion climbs. That's going to be 6+ minutes on the wall. You're doing one at a time, resting a lot between each climb. And that is a really solid part of your session. So you could either maybe do some limit climbing first and then add this kind of like as a finisher at the end of your session. Yeah, let's see. Some things to avoid. Yeah, this is a big one. Depending on how steep the climb you chose, you know, if it's getting steeper, you might find yourself getting pumped. And we actually just want to avoid you getting pumped. Just stop. Like if you're getting pumped, that's not the purpose of the drill. So just make sure you're climbing just before you start getting that pumped feeling. Like, so that's the burning feeling in your forearms. Do this on boulders. It's probably not great to do this on routes. Again, you're going to get pumped. You might not even make it to halfway. All right. So it's better just to stick to boulders, and go as slow as possible. Don't let the people around you rush you. Okay. Like just kind of zone out and do your thing. And one way I like to contrast this is with something dynamic. Um, so you could do a slow motion climb, rest for a minute or two, and then you could do a dynamic move. So you could incorporate Katja's drill, like move to your reach, and you're automatically moving faster, and trying to climb at your reach as a contrast to the slow motion. So you could alternate these two drills, and it gives you a good taste in like pacing. Like if you're a rope climber, pacing is such an integral part of being able to send. And so this could actually teach you a little bit about what pacing feels like. So yeah, that is my favorite drill.
Yeah, I love this one too. I mean, we have so many fun drills, but I do also love the slow motion monkey.
Yeah.
Well, or what did you call it? We used to call it slow motion monkey,
Yeah.
but you
Just slow motion.
like just
Yeah.
slow motion. That's the point of
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
um, I wanted to say it's actually also a drill that I like to use when I transition to outside climbing, especially at the beginning of the season or for any warm up. It's just for me to like connect with the actual rock outside, which is always so different, and the feet are different. And one of the things I love about it, it really does make you use your feet.
Mhm.
And I feel like this drill kind of just puts it's like a magnifying glass that, highlights motion and movement. It really expands our view on that. Like we're really becoming aware of how we're actually moving, when we're engaging our core, how we're breathing, and all of that. That's why it's really fantastic
Mhm.
for anybody to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah. I think it's also a good principle. Like if you can show control in slow motion, it's almost like you then earn the ability to move quickly. Like I know this for sure in other sports. Like you want to show control first before you really start like adding a lot more speed to the motion. I'm not saying that's not like a gatekeeping thing at all, but it mostly just highlights the importance of it. And,
Yeah.
so we have links below, if you want to try these drills. And of course, if you want some guidance in your training programming, join Stronger Together. This is a membership where you can get training programs, and we have these drills in there. We have a strategic way of working on these drills, several times a week. So yeah. All right. Well, enjoy these drills. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye.